Can you hear me?
Raghu, you told like you will share through mail, right?
Oh, okay. Is it? I thought I've shared. Lakshmi, did we get a chance to share that?
I'm going to share it now only. I just saw that mail, Raghu. I'll just send
Okay.
it right now to the project
Yeah.
leads or to the I'll send it to LND.
Yes. Yeah. So when I was late to forward to you.
Sure. As you're talking, I'm doing that itself.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. So you'll be having that assignment all. So I also want reply that to Lakshmi, so she will coordinate, upload that and consolidate all your submits. So as we discussed, try to share it by Sunday. Yeah. So because otherwise, I'll be spending on Monday reviewing all that particular stuff. Before we start today, just a warm-up questions as usual. So now Kubernetes is owned by which organization?
CNFG.
Yeah, close. It is CNCF.
Yes.
So I mean, so is Kubernetes a container technology or is it something else?
So orchestration tool.
Orchestration tool. Yeah. So if you look at only Kubernetes, like there are multiple flavors. For example, OpenShift. Okay, and we also have Docker UCP, and you also have this Kubernetes, which is open source one, and the other one are the enterprise editions. So these are like Kubernetes flavor. Now, what is Azure Kubernetes services, and then what is Amazon Kubernetes services? Can anyone put some light on that?
Yeah, coming to the AWS AKS means all master servers are managed by cloud itself, cloud manager. You don't need to take the backup like etcd.
Okay, yeah.
Control plane is managed by cloud provider.
Yeah, yeah. So you generally will be having the power of using all that services. For example, generally cloud, what is that it will be providing? High availability, fault tolerance, okay, and the backup kind of stuff. So all that stuff you can utilize when we use cloud services. So Kubernetes is providing as a service from this cloud. The network connectivity and everything you can put there. Now, maybe this is not discussed, but because some of you already working on Kubernetes and cloud. So by default, what is the container network, CNI, which is used by this Azure or Amazon?
Ingress.
Ingress means like incoming network, but so we have a CNI network in Kubernetes, like we call it as overlay network. What it means is that containers to communicate with each other, they'll be having their own private network. So anyone have an idea? So what is it is exactly?
Proxy, I guess.
Proxy is a no, that's not a network. Have you heard about it, Calico?
Yeah, Flannel, I can say. I mean,
okay, right, yeah. Right, I was looking for that. So in case in the cloud, if I want to choose a different network, I don't want to choose the default network provided by cloud, in this overlay network. Can I do that?
We can do that.
Okay. So you mean to say, for example, so if I want to move away from Calico in cloud, okay. So you're saying like, we can.
Yes.
Have you ever done by any chance?
I didn't work on that. I avoid.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question, Raghu, once again?
No, in the cloud area, we'll be having a default CNI provided by these services, right? Azure and Amazon. It could be Calico or it could be something else. So if I want to, no, I don't want to go with Calico, but I want to use some different container network. Can I do that?
In cloud, you are asking, right?
Yes.
I think you can.
The answer is yes, you can. Yeah. So any idea like how do we do that?
No, Raghu.
So what is kubelet here?
Kubernetes agent.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, Kubernetes is the agent, like it's working on background.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So what is scheduler?
Scheduler, which will be like if any of the new, it will look over the newly created container and it will assign to the node.
Okay. So, for example, let's say there is a container, you received it, and then you would like to, I mean, scheduler decided that this should go to, let's say, a node. So, so my question is that which component is responsible for spinning up this container in so and so node?
Yeah, kubelet is the responsible for that. It will check the whether which node is suitable for deploy those net containers. Pods.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it is not scheduler, but it is kubelet actually. Second.
Raghu, I have a small note.
Yeah.
While creating the service, we have assigned some port, like we choose some 8080 port. While
Yeah.
running the service, can
Yeah.
we change the port? I mean 80802, 8089. Then after we can apply those OML, or no need to apply that OML. It automatically take it that newly updated port.
So we are talking about node port or service port?
Service port, like whatever you taking the service, we are changing only the port number, not the cluster
Correct.
cluster IP too. Yeah.
So you are editing the service, right?
Yeah,
kubectl.
we are editing the service in the container port to host port is there.
Yeah.
In
So
that sense.
you don't need to apply. I mean, it's basically editing the object, memory object.
Okay.
So let me start that small exam, which I got it from the net. Experience with okay. So how many pods exist in the system? The featured Kubernetes. What's the command? Kubectl get pods.
Pods.
So no, 0 pod. Yeah, how many replica sets exist in the system? Kubectl, I think get. You can use RS also. 0 or replica sets, you have to type it. How about now? How many replica sets do we see? Okay, maybe I think they might have changed something. Yeah, how many are there?
1.
New replica.
4.
4.
4 is
Okay.
desired and current is 4.
Okay. Okay, I think there is some, check it out the hint. What happened? I have selected this, but saying not correct. Get RS, get replica set, count the number of replica sets. It's saying only 1. We this is like, you know, pod size. So I guess. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. How many pods are desired in the new replica sets? Yeah. So now this, so this is pods. This is pods. The replica set is only 1. Pods are 4. What is the image used to create the pod in the new replica set? Kubectl describe record set new replica set. You just scroll down.
Yeah, busy box 777. Like
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah. 777. How many pods are ready in the new replica set? Ready is?
8.
No, there are
8
3
or
columns.
0.
Desired, current,
Okay.
and ready, 0. So why do you think pods are not ready? Go to the describe. If you go to the event section or where are the errors? We could see, I think, you know, waiting. So I think the image busybox 7777 does not exist. So what we can do, you can do get pods And so there are like 4 pods, right? Now you can do kubectl describe pod and take one pod, for example, this one. Here you will see that full image. This is an error, RPC error. The repository does not exist. Finally, so does not exist. Okay, delete any of the 4 pods. How do you do that? Kubectl delete pod. Deleted. Done. How many pods exist now? General deletion will take some time, so we'll just give 2 seconds to return to the terminal. Now take the pod. It is 4 still, because replica set is configured. So it maintains the desired number of pods. So why are these 4 still 4 pods even after deleted? Yeah, replica set ensure the desired number of pods always run. Okay. Create a replica set using, okay, there is already one file is there. EI replica set. Basically, replica set we generally use. Yesterday we used pod, right? So replica set is that this is what. So the kind is replica set again. API version is B1. We'll talk about that in detail, but anyway, because this question came, I'm discussing this metadata replica set 1. Now here we can mention how many replicas you want to have. So 2, but what is the 2? So you will be defining that under the template section here. So under this template section, this is what I need to at any point of time. So here, what it is mentioning, this particular container called Nginx and image specification, having this particular label, metadata label. So should have 2 replica sets. So here the selector is using as filter, because in real time you might be having 100 number of pods. Out of 100 number of pods, I am selecting a pod which is having a label front end. So this is what actually the replica set. So even like if any pod dies, so this template will help you to deploy the pod. So this is little background about replica set. What was the question? Located, there is an issue with file, so try to fix it. Okay, there's an issue with file, it seems. Let me just check it out. I guess front end metadata. I'm checking a name Nginx, images Nginx, container specification, metadata labels. Here, front end. Any guesses? What is the issue there?
In above, they didn't mention any mass libraries. I mean, they didn't
Okay.
give any labels.
This
Under
method,
the
Raghu,
data
I
section.
think API version is the next Replica Set apps/v1.
okay, yeah. So, and even that could be one thing. Yes, generally, right? There are two components: RC, and then RS. So we'll talk about RC also. RC is the little older edition. Now Kubernetes, everybody is using Replica Set, that is RS. So this particular the selector thing was not available in RC, I guess. So maybe that API version could be one. So let me see. I also would like to check it at the hint API version. Yeah. So the value of API version is incorrect. Correct the version of API version for Replica Set. API apps version 1. Okay. So let me see, save this thing. And I'm not executing anything. I'm trying to check. It's saying that name Replica Set 1. Oh, it's name Replica Set 1.
The special characters are not unknown.
Okay. Complete. Let me check the solution. You could explain Replica Set, grep version, and correct the API version for Replica Set. That is done. Then run the command. Okay, so we have to complete it. Cut it. They did not mention anything about run that. Thing created, right? Kubekernel get RS. Well, maybe the name be modified, right? That could be the reason. That's fine. I think we can skip this question. Go to the 12th question. Fix the issue in Replica Set 2. Okay, there is one more file called 2, it seems. Replica Set definition 2.yml. Replica Set 2. Replicas 2. Yeah, I think label is not correct. Nginx. It has to match, no? The template one. We need to also deploy this one. Created. So delete the newly created replica set. Kubectl get rs. Kubectl delete rs replica set -2. Delete get rs. What is the next? Fix the original replica set, new replica. Okay, so there is a problem here, right? So the ready is not there. Asking to fix it. So kubectl edit rs new replica set. I'm editing this thing. So looking for image. So this here it is. It was there, right? So this I have changed and saved it. Now kubectl get rs. So kubectl get pods. So you could see, right? It is now getting terminating. Now it is spinning up. Get pods. Still the same stuff. Kubectl destroy pod. This pod. We'll see what is the issue by going to the events. Okay, because I think pod we did not delete it. It is still referring the whole image only. So kubectl delete pod and this is the pod. So because replica set has to maintain 4 pods, it should allow now to spin up a new pod using the new definition which we updated. So this time the image is now updated in the object. So it should spin the healthy pod. Just I'll try to open another terminal. Kubectl get pods. It is now running. So kubectl delete pod. It is terminating. Kubectl get pods. Kubectl delete pod. Terminating. And kubectl get pods. Yeah, one more thing. Kubectl delete pod. This one. Yeah, it should now fix. We'll just say check. Yes. So go to the next one. Scale replica set to 5 pods. So this you can do by reading the pod. Kubectl get rs. Kubectl edit rs new hyphen replica set. So now it is earlier it is 4 only here. No? Try to change this to 5. Edit it. Now get rs. Yeah, so it is now 5 desired, 5 current. Or also it will try to get done. So we don't need to again apply.
Raghu, can we do it this one from terminal?
You mean terminal means?
From here, it's by giving command.
So you have the definition file, right? So, oh yeah, so directly,
Yeah.
yes, it is possible. I don't remember the syntax, but to answer your question, it is possible. I'll see that it is there in somewhere in my notes. There is a command available. You can do that from terminal also. I'll try to share the command. Yeah. Now scale the replica set down to 2 pods the same way. You can do that as anyway. You have just now done.
No, it was asking use the kubectl scale command.
I see. Okay. I think we'll just check the syntax. I don't remember the syntax. Edit replica set, there is one option, a kubectl scale replica set command. Anyway, let me see. Let me check the solution. By any chance, they given the full syntax. Yeah. Someone asked me the command now. Maybe this is the one you're looking for. Kubectl scale rs new replica set replica to 2. Yeah. Both are same. Anyway, it is. You can use anything. For example, now we'll try to change this to 3. Rs new replica set. Scale 3. Check it out. Yeah, change to 3. Contain pods. Yes. This is the command you're looking for, right? Kubectl scale replica
Yes,
set. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Scale is the command. Yeah. I don't know. I was not remembering the question, the syntax. Now come to the task. Check it out. Next. I think we are done. Okay. In the process, of course, we also learn about the replica set. We'll just try to discuss that quickly. Replica set and replica control. Controller, the older one, yeah, the process which control Kubernetes objects and responds accordingly. So which maintain the same desired status. So take its load balancing, scaling the pods, okay, based on the load and the traffic. So if you have multiple worker nodes, no, so it will span across multiple across. You don't need to mention that this node, this node, this node. So Kubernetes automatically anyway. It will take care of that across multiple nodes across the cluster. So difference between RC and RS, replication controller and replica set, is that replication controller, or in shorter form RC, is an older technology. Okay. Don't say that the RC means Royal Challenge Bangalore, your team. Okay, replication controller, older technology, and replica set RS is the new one. But Kubernetes says that no, please use RS only. So they are, but otherwise, like both are in the way it works is same with some minor differences. Here, one of the RC definition file. So we don't have that filter specification filter. So here also API version V1, this one. The V1 is supports RC, which is replication controller 1, replication controller 1. Same thing, metadata, name the replication controller and the labels for this replication controller. And you need to put the specification template. So metadata, name, syntax just to be adjusted here. I think my slide when copy pasting some issue there. And the name Apache labels, tier, specification containers. Container name is Apache and image is repeating. So here, why are we defining pod? Yeah, in case if any pod dies, it has to know, right, which pod definition or template it has to use to spin it up. That is the reason. In case if the pod is already running with the same name, then it will ignore. Like it is trying to replicate the replication controller. So here the difference here in RS here, yeah, this is what we are now. If API not supports, we'll get errors. Same stuff. Yeah. The only thing is label, the filter. You can define here at the bottom of the also. So this, it has to match. It will try to verify. Here, I think there is some issue, so it has to be fixed. So selectors optional in replication controller, generally not used. Now the question is, it is not mandatory that that you have to use replication controller. But however, in case if you want to use it, yes, you can use it. But in Replica Set, that selector option is mandatory, which will try to filter the pods with the help of labels. Why do we use template there? In both replication controller and replication set is to deploy the failed pods to maintain the desired state. So scaling, there are multiple ways. One is edit the definition file and use this command kubectl replace -f the file name. And the second one is the command, that syntax command, kubectl scale replica set, okay, and give this way. Or you can say that kubectl scale -replica is equal to 6 and -f the file name. This way also you can do that, but this way the file will not be updated. It's only that the parameter will be updated, or the one which we used by looking at the solution, right? Kubectl scale replica is equal to set. Replica set is name of this particular stuff. So you can customize based on load and usage also. So what are the commands we have seen here? One is creation, to create, get replica set to get the list of the RS, delete the underlying pods, replace, and then scale. This is one way, using file as a parameter without having to modify the file. Temporarily, it will be useful. Let's say you're doing troubleshooting, all this thing. You don't want to edit the file. This way, you can use it. We have done that, right? Yeah, it's okay. You determine the form. Yeah, it's fine. Wait in this exercise. Any questions on that? Okay. So now let's. Do you want to do exercise? It's okay, right? I think. Yeah. Let me just otherwise show you one of the.
Raghu, a replica set and replica controller API version will be same or it will be different?
Different, no? Replica set is the latest edition.
Okay.
So it is the API version 1/v1. Replica controller is older one. So it is v1 only.
Okay, thank you.
So let me see if there is any example. What was the exercise? I forgot the exercise. I will talk about that exercise. Nginx, okay. Let me check Nginx Replica Set. It's not here. Okay, this is one. Open it. File.
Under Apache, Nginx is there, no? Right, OMS.
Under Apache.
Yeah,
Nginx is there. Yeah. So the same thing we have written. Okay, this is, I think again in a API version. Yeah, what was the syntax? I forgot.
app/v1.
App/v1. Yeah. App/v1. The replica set. Metadata. Name my app replica set. Label says right. Specification filter. Apps my app. So this has to be matched here. Replica is 3. This is the template about the bot. Metadata. Name Nginx 2. That is fine. Okay, but is it matching? Yeah, my app is matching. Okay, now specification. Container is Nginx, yes. Okay. Can copy this. We don't have that node ready, right? We have to log into our AWS. Oops. Anyone try to do install Minikube and local or T3?
Yes, Raghu, I tried, but I was facing issues. Docker was not getting started and Minikube as well. Both got installed, but not getting started.
So is it the image? What is the image you are using?
In VirtualBox, I tried.
Oh, in your local virtual bus. Is it Ubuntu or
Ubuntu.
oh, Ubuntu, right? So local, yeah. The internet you have access, no?
Yes, internet access I have. So Docker service is also not getting started. Due to that, I think it is failing Minikube.
Yeah, that's a dependency, right? On which Minikube starts. So that apt update is also done, no? Just in case if it is not referring the repository.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So what should I do to resolve this?
What is error? Can you paste the error?
Yes. I'm using driver as none.
Or driver is none you're using, yeah?
Yeah, so it is used.
But okay, but you said like Docker itself is not installed properly.
Docker is also not Docker is installed, but it is not getting started. Service is down.
So while starting Docker, so have you seen any error? Oh.
checking.
Try that.
No, starting Docker, it is saying okay, but status is not running. Docker is not running.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Can you check the logs for any evidence?
Okay.
The Docker logs.
What is the command? Docker log.
Okay, you need to just look at the configuration. It's Ubuntu, right? Second, mine is also Ubuntu. Let's see. Let me see. Kubernetes logs. Okay. Don't recollect on the log location and Ubuntu. So this ps-ef, anything it is showing you? The log location?
No, it's not showing.
Same, okay. Let me just quickly Google. Docker log. Bad luck. Okay. Do you see any Docker here? Start. No, start is not there. Docker log is also not there.
Yes, for me, Docker log is there.
Oh, you
Bad
got
log.
it. Oh, that is.
Warlib Docker.
I try to tell it.
CD warlib Docker.
Sorry, CD
CD warlib/var
varlib.
Docker. Containers. Yeah.
Okay, but I think she was able to find out under that log, docker.log. This is about all the container stuff, right? Yeah, so any evidence on the Docker log for you?
Inside this, no logs are there inside container.
I see. So this part, as he says, check it out, varlib Docker containers. But I think it is related to containers.
Okay, where left Docker container? Nothing is there for me.
Okay. Because you don't have any containers, that could be the reason. Here it is, no container distribution.
Yeah.
So try to reinstall it, otherwise remove the Docker and try to reinstall it.
Okay. Okay, I'll check.
Yeah. So coming back to our replica exercise. So we would like to quickly create one replica set. So I was checking your error just now. System CTL development. Failed to connect to the bus. Host is down. So it's a command kubectl create ifname nginx parsing nginx. Mapping values are not rolled in this. By the way, is it up and running? Was it just here? Line 4. The template, it is fine. The alignment and the specification is also fine. Everything looks fine to me. So anyway, I was trying to adjust this. Error converting YAML to JSON. Line 4 could not be expected for. Oh, is it? Metadata kind replicas. Try this option. Anyway, I do one thing. I'll use run. This were part, right? Nginx, RS. Nginx, dry run client in YAML. Nginx, RS. Spot created. Okay, don't want to spend too much time on that. Let me just get some sample. Let me get sample record set, replica set for Kubernetes. Going to the official one. The link controls, duplicate, and both are same. I don't know where is the issue there. Labels, guestbook, find specification, replica set, selected templates, modify replica to your case. Here, this guy is using some Google repositories samples. Okay, let me try that. Kubectl, create diagram, front end. Okay, created, nice. The name is front end. Diff between front end and where is the issue there? Just in case. Okay, so there is some ASCII numbers are there. After my app. That could be the reason. Also, after replica set, there is a masking. And then here also. Maybe that could be the reason. So that is fine. Let's move on. We created one replica set just for demonstration purpose. Let's move on to the deployments. So deployment is another component in Kubernetes. So when we create or run a pod using image and all that stuff, what is the need for deployment? So the question can come, right? So yeah, so today in the real time, we will be looking for seamless deployments. And also once it is deployed, we would like to sometimes roll back the updates. Okay, and then we don't want to release the images, all images at a single shot. Would like to go for the rolling updates or some incremental updates. We call it as. For all these purposes, deployments are useful. Take an example. You have a deployment configured. You have a replica set. Close to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pods are available. So when you really go for deployment, all pods, if you deploy together, there will be a downtime. So which is not a welcome sign from the end user point of view, because we don't want to have the downtime. So deployment will help you to do that. How do you create this deployment? So very simple, the same YAML definition file. We can use apps v1. The kind is, in this case, it is deployment. So this is the same YAML file which is used for replica set also. Only the difference will be kind. Kind is deployment here. In this case, metadata, you have to mention what is the this one, the deployment name, label, specification, put the selectors, replicas, template. So just again, you have to give the label as well as the container or image name. Creation is also straightforward, very simple. Create the deployment -n. So if you want to check it out, how many deployments you have, you can go for get deployments. And then the same thing, you can use get replica set, get pods. If you want to get all the objects listed, you can use get all. So one sample, so maybe I will try to copy this one. Hope the syntax is good. VI, what is the image engine? Deploy.yaml. Let me use Vim. This will avoid me this thing. Yeah, I'm trying to copy from PPT. This is what I'm getting. So what I'll do, I'll try to first copy to Notepad just to avoid any ASCII character. Just now. Kind deployment. APA version. One. You can use DOS key to convert or DOS to Unix. This is not work, we'll try that one. Now this is metadata, give a name and labels to that. Under specification, select the match labelix replica says 3 and the metadata. Template name is Nginx2. Label, try to match this to with the selector. Okay, this is type. Container name is Nginx. Image name is Nginx. But hope again that that's the two outcomes. So DOS to Unix. What's the package name? Update. Once it is updated, apt list. Take it out. What is the package name? DOS to Unix. Apt get install. Or we can use copy front end and then to yeah. Change this to deployment. And that's it. Kubectl create -f .yml and then get deployment. So we have one deployment by name front end. We can use kubectl get pods to see whether it is spinned up or not. Yes, it's spinned up two. A front end 2 pods because we mentioned there, no? So if you use kubectl get rs, yes, there is also one replica set also there. If you want to get all the objects, then use get all. Will display pods with display services, with display deployments, display the replica sets. These services which we did not created, it was created by Kubernetes itself. In this case, it is Minikube. Yeah, come back to the presentation. So it is almost like, same like your replica set or pod image deployment. The advantage is that rollout and versioning. So each deployment will have a rollout versioning. So now rollout status command is that kubectl rollout status deployment. So in our case, we have one example, right? Kubectl get deployment. The kubectl, what was syntax? Rollout status deployment / front end. Okay, rollout status is saying deployment front end successfully rollout. Okay. Rollout status command. The rollout history. One revision we done. Now if you do get learned, of course. So this was earlier it was showing 87 seconds because we tried to roll it out. So it went into because it went into probably the previous deployment, the replica set deployment. Of course, we don't see any differences because the pod was same which we used. We did not use any custom pair. In case of any software code or changes in all these things, then this rollout status will be useful. So the strategy, deployment strategy, one is recreate, which is not the default one. One is the rolling update. This is the default one. So we'll start with rolling update. So pod by pod, it will terminate and recreate to avoid application downtime. This is like an incremental way. When you go for the recreate option, which is not the default option, all pods will be terminated and recreated with new image at single shot. So you may get some business impact or downtime. That's fine. In case if there is a need, business or application need, you will go for recreate option. So modifying the deployment file, a new rollout and revisiting will be created. So kubectl set image deployment with some new image. So we will do one thing. Instead of Nginx, I'll try to use HTTPD. Well, let's see. First of all, let me confirm kubectl get pods. What is the image name it is using? So kubectl describe pod. That is a front end one, right? So front end grep image. It is currently using some GB front end. Fine. The earlier, I think, in the previous case. Now I would like to change this to Nginx. So command is kubectl set image. Set image deployment front end. I think syntax it is right. Yeah. The old image name was this one. I would like to change this to Nginx. Maybe latest one. Oh, unable to find out the container named. Get pods. Kubectl get pods. So maybe the exact container thing we will. So what we will do, I will try to create this again. The front end is already exists. Get let me do one thing. This I want to change this to Nginx. So kubectl edit deployment front end. That's for image. I'm trying to change this to Nginx. Yeah. Get deployment, get pods. Yeah, that all are running. So the old one is now terminating. That is fine. It will take some time. Yes. So now status 3. So now get pods. You try to describe one pod. Let's say this one. It is using Nginx. Fine. So now let's come back to our exercise. Set image. I do not want to use Nginx. Instead, let me try to use HTTP. I think HTTP, I guess. Why this? Very Nginx. Set image deployment. Okay, manually I'll try to modify then. I think it is not actually this one, but it is speech period is. Okay, this is. Now let me change this to HTTPD. Try to create now. It says already existing. That is because the name is already there. So now it should allow me set image. Yeah, now this. Fine. So this generally will update these things. We'll come back, like we'll do exercise. So now in deployment describe output, we can see the differences. The strategy type, recreate rolling updates. Let me do that. Get deployment. This is my deployment. Kubectl. Describe deployment. Content. Where is the strategy? Yes, the rolling update strategy. It is saying that rolling updates. It is like incremental update. This is, we could see here. Excuse me, what? Give me a minute. I just need to attend this call. Yeah, I'm back. Okay. So we were discussing about the strategy type, that is rolling updates. So in recreate, all will be scaled down to 0, and then they'll be scaling up to later. Whereas in this in the rolling updates, so the replica set will be one at a time. Also coming to the upgrades in the rollback, so it will recreate new replica set with new pods by taking one pod down in existing replica set. Yeah, that is basically one the key technical differences. Not technically, yeah, but the ground rule. So in the rollback, so kubectl rollout undo deployment, it will basically destroy the new replica set and bring up the old replica set. So as simple as that. So we can observe this in the replica set output. So kubectl get replica sets. If you see, before and after, you will see the differences. These are the summarizing commands. So one is creation of definition file. This is to create a deployment file. So record is to, yeah. So this record option generally people will use. This is to display the cause in the rollout history command. So suppose let's say you've done 10 deployments. Say it will be difficult which one you want to refer. Mostly people will give the ticket number or Jira ticket number or anything, or you can give any history or your own description. So that will be useful. So you can also see it, the annotation about the record later. Yeah. So this set image, of course, I think we used one ready-made deployment file, so I did not verify properly. But in case if you want to go for a new deployment, you just simply change the image name, set image, and then it will be updated the file, and then that's it. It will be deployed, and then rollout status. What is the status of this thing? History, how many deployments it was done, and then undo is to undo the deployment to go to the previous stuff. Okay, so use deployment YAML file to deploy record and status history, edit, set the image. You can put the change cause in history also. Roll out a previous revision. Notice in rollout history to entry mode to latest one. So you can also use edit to update the wrong image and observe the stored stuff. Yes, due to rollout there is no downtime. Now you can roll out, undo a rollout status, confirm the image with the script. Right. Anyway, so we will probably not do that exercise as of now. We try to do one exercise. So moving on to the networking part. So in the Kubernetes networking side, yeah, you will be having one. Of course, we're discussing Minikube only. You have a node IP. You have a Minikube IP. You also have a pod IP. This is how the currently the node setup is done. So here in this case, we have so far discussing that no, every pod will have an IP. It will be assigned by Kubernetes. So initially when it is configured, it is give this IP 10.244 for all the pods that are attached to it. So when we deploy a new pod, you will get an IP. The pod will get an IP and it's dynamic IP. The series starts from 10.244. Now, if it is on the Minikube, that is fine. But how about in the real time, we go for Cube ADM installation, wherein let's say you have two physical nodes or two virtual machines, two different pods. Chances are there that both this pod can get the same IP. So even the physical node IP address is different in this case. This is 1.2, this is 1.3. And the range, because it this thing, same stuff. So dynamically Kubernetes assigns this thing, right? So as both pod using the same IP, it is not a good way to set up in that way. So Kubernetes, you need to remember one thing, does not set up any network and it expects us to set up the network. This is one other thing which we need to remember. So all the pods or the containers inside the cluster or the Minikube or whatever you want to say, they communicate to one without configuring a native network address translation. Same with the nodes and containers in clusters and vice versa. Now, what are the solutions we have? There are some pre-built solutions with Kubernetes available. So you can go for directly use this Cisco SCI network, Cilium network can use, or Flannel you can use, or in case if it is an on-prem one, you can also go with the VMware network, or you can go for NSX network or Calico network, very popular one. Default mostly they generally use with Calico network. Yeah, some let's say cloud services and all these things. So you can go with Flannel network by default. So these are the close to 5 to 6 solutions. You can always refer the Kubernetes original website. So in case if there are any other offering from them. Now, how this works? So in the same scenario here in the previous stuff, so there will be a component called routing, which will help to basically try to differentiate the network inside the nodes. Basically, I'm talking about from the pod level. So that is this routing can be done with the help of services. So this is actually a component in Kubernetes. So what a service will do, it will allow you to dynamically access a group of replica pods here. Now, I'll take an example. You have an IP address called 126, and in the other case, it is 81. So these are two physical nodes or VM nodes. Inside that, there is here one pod running, and in the other node, it is two pods running. So you will be anyway communicating to these two worker nodes or whatever you want to say with the help of a service component. So where it will be there? It will be there probably in master here and there. We'll talk about that later. So both these ports might be exposed probably through some, let's say in this case, the picture is showing as some 3080 port. So this port, it will try to contact a service with the help of this node port from node 1. And my service will acting like a routing junction, which will talk to the pod on the other node based on the, again, the grouping and all thing comes into picture while defining this thing with the name of label and etc. So use case is, let's say that in our case, you deployed a pod, that pod IP address is 10.24402. Now, from your laptop, you cannot access that, hence you're accessing your node IP, that is 1.2. So you will tell the service saying that please use this node port called 3000, which internally talk to the service and then we'll talk to the pod. Now, so how many endpoints we are seeing here? One is node port 3000. From my laptop, when I use curl this node IP, and that is the only way I can access now. And on this port 3000, it will try to internally communicate to the pod. How it will communicate? With the help of some components. One is node port, and the second one is cluster IP here. So we call it as, these are all service types here. Now, service will create a virtual IP inside the cluster, which will enable the Kubernetes to communicate between different services such as front-end service or the back-end services, etc. And you also have a load balancer. So this load balancer type, we generally don't use on-prem. It is suitable for the cloud section, Amazon or GCP or Azure, and those cloud service providers, load balancer will be used. Fine. Let's not talk about load balancer. First, focus on node port and cluster port. Start with node port. So here, external access to this application, yeah, they will directly go to this port on the node. Yes, definitely the physical or VM node. And then from there, it will go to the port. So the service node port will be having majorly 3 components. Now, this is all from the service point of view. What is that from service point of view? What is a node port? By default, if you don't define also, no problem. Service will assign one port to that. Range from 30,000 to 32,767 word. Okay, node port, we understand that it is the endpoint at the physical node or VM node. Now, service also we have discussed. No, it will also will be having a cluster IP, service IP, that and it required a port. Let's say any number. If you don't define, it will automatically try to match with the pod port. Fine. Service port we understand. Now, target port is a port where the actual application residing inside a pod in the form of container. So one is target port, one is service port, one is node port here. So these are all from the service viewpoint, the naming convention I'm talking about. So this will be easy for you to remember whenever we are trying to define that in a YAML file. Target port is the pod port. Service port is a service port, and the node port anyway with the physical or the VM node. So one sample service definition file here. So P1 kind is service, metadata, give a name to service, my application service. Now specification we are defining here, the 4th category. So first one is node port. Or here you can type that no, this is cluster port, or which is nothing but cluster IP or load balancer. Now the second row, it is ports. So you can define any port or range of port. One is target port. Here in this case 80. If it is not mentioned, that means target port is not mandatory that you have to define. It is not mentioned. So the service port, if not mentioned, service port will be considered as the port number of the target port. Fine. Now the second one is port. Now this is the service one, service object. This is only one which is mandatory. So service one you need to define. So in this case, it is we are saying 80 because I guess it is referring HTTP or Nginx here. And the service, and the service port. Sorry, I think it is, yeah, service port, yeah. So if not mentioned, only taken from range 30,000 to 32,000. I think this is node port, maybe that type of error. Now selected, copy label from selected anyway port definition file is used to link the port. Once it is defined, then same stuff, create a service definition and create services. Then you can access the node port. Now, what in case if I have multiple ports in a single node? So service will select all the ports based on the labels as endpoints. You will definitely cannot have the same endpoint for each port. No? You will be defining different labels for that. So do we need to do any changes in the service definition file? No changes is required. It automatically selects that based on the label. Now, what is the algorithm it communicates to multiple ports when we trying to use to communicate these things? It uses random algorithm here. Now, in case like multiple nodes are there in the cluster nodes, multiple physical nodes. So do we need to do any changes? No. Kubernetes automatically creates services which spans across all the nodes. That's what we discussed. No, that's because cluster. So this is one of the great feature of service. So it assigns the same node port to all the nodes. So as per the definition of the definition file. So the advantage is that no, it will help us to access any IP of the node to access the application here. So do we need to do any changes if it is a cluster at a single node at multiple nodes, 2 nodes? No. So all these changes, any additional changes, will automatically be done here. So single pod in a single node, multiple pods in single node, it will take care. Multiple pods in multiple nodes, so it will be taking care. They act like load balancer in case of pod removed or added. So even yesterday also in the architecture we have discussed this thing, right? So under the load balancer you might be having a pod might be having a different IP address. So that everything it will be taken care here. So here this is the example. Kind is service metadata, specification is a node port. This is the port number, target port, node port here. Selector is Maya. We can do one example. Do we have some time? Yeah, we have some time. So let's do this example. But I think this is incomplete, right? Now we'll take one more example. I think there's one more example. So in case multiple nodes in the cluster nodes, automatically this we have discussed. It's already. We'll take one example from my repo. Let me see. We have Postgres. Redis is there. Yeah, I think Postgres. Nginx service, if it is there, it would have been good. I think it is there in my where it is. Should be somewhere. Services. Let me just check it out. What is this? In Nginx it is using. So this is, I think, a good one to check it out. Control C. Nginx hyphen service. Also, yeah. So API version v1 kind of services. Give just one example, my name and what is specification, a node port here. We are not using cluster IP. We are not using load balancer. We are because it's a single node, no? So please map to node port is what I'm trying to do. If it is Amazon or Azure or Google, I'll be using load balancer. Or multi-node, I'll be using cluster IP. So here I'm saying that port is 0. So this is all from the service point of view. But that means this is service port. Now what is this one? This is target port. So this is the target port. Nothing but the from the service point of view, this is pod port. We know pod is Nginx. That is the reason I'm saying IT. Or if it is different, let's say different image, yeah, probably we'll try to use the different one. And node port, this is 3004. Okay, services. But we have any get ports in the next? Yeah, I think we have in the next. Let's try this. Kubectl get services first of all. We have some services. Voting services, I think, is also there. Okay, but I don't want to do and delete service voting. Deleted. Okay, kubectl create hyphen app nginx hyphen service. So we created this one. Get services. So this is a confirmation that it is yes mapped to the 3004 port. So check it out. And if 3004, it is routing to Nginx or not. Three thousand four. Hyper. Oh, sorry, 30,000. The range is that from 30,000, right? Sample Kubernetes service YAML. Okay, this is about the deployment. Get pods, creating a service for that. So kubectl create hyphen app run my nginx. Done. So we created deployment by name my nginx. All right. Now let's create a service. Services, my app service is already there, but we will try to use nginx. We use this one. Get critical there. kubectl create -f nginx. Kubectl get svc. Svc is short form. Nginx. Okay, this is not a node port, but I think this is just to give you a service port. So what we will do? What is the name of the deployments? Deployment name is my nginx. I will kubectl via nginx YML. Select app name. I'll try to put that name. Now create service with dot. Okay, 3004 is already allocated. Okay, maybe if you would have not mentioned, then would have automatically have taken. Fine, let me change. My app service is already created. So we would like to modify that. One. Then get SVC 3005. Ports not open or what? Check it out. So what is the security? Ensure that. Make sure it's not there. It's going to right. Okay. So a lot of engine exports, yeah, difficult to find out. But anyway, so we'll see that as of now, we could see that we deployed the services here. So generally through which you'll be able to communicate the backend port. We'll continue our discussion about the services and all that stuff, and yeah, tomorrow's session, and then the leftover topics. Any questions? Are you using Kubernetes already in your environment? Okay, yeah, I'll take that as no. Fine then. So we'll catch up tomorrow then.
Okay, Raghu, thanks.